If we weren't on the air and if he wasn't so desperate for our millions of viewers and listeners, Chris Wallace would not give me the time of day. He wants to talk about Fox News Sunday. I feel like I'm being used.
Good morning, Chris Wallace.
Good morning.
Welcome to Brian and the Judge. Welcome to the Judge and Wallace.
Well, no. We have to have Brian there as a kind of comic relief.
How about the factual? How about the human brain room?
Yeah, that's what we call you all the time. Right behind your back, the human brain room. Listen, I have to ask you something, Brian, because I came back from 2 weeks of vacation, and I get an email, and it's from Brian Kilmeade, and I'm thinking, wow, Brian emailed me. Do you know where I'm headed with this?
No.
And it's an email that you have apparently sent to like half of the staff, and you're complaining at Fox News, and you're complaining about the fact that on the next day's show you're not in enough segments.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I actually emailed that out. It was Sunday night. It was Sunday night. It was Sunday night, and I get this rundown, and I'm not in my own show. I go, guys, if you don't want me to get up in the morning, just tell me. Let me sleep in.
But you sent it to about half of the thousands and thousands of people who work at Fox News. What, did you really want me to get this email?
I'm not upset that you got it. Chris, did you go to bat for me at least?
Brian, Chris is correct. You did hit reply all. We all got this thing.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
You know what? I did it on purpose.
Myself, what a whining little baby.
But you know, the bottom line is, it worked, because the rundown the next morning was completely changed.
I got an option, Chris. I'm not in the show, or I make sure on Sunday that people adjust it.
But do you think that conceivably you could have sent it to people who have control over this rather than to everybody in Fox News?
I think that if Chris Wallace picks up the phone and Britt Hume backs him up and Brett Baer says, I think they're right, I have every generation represented. I get the 50-year-olds, I get the 30-year-olds, and I get those who aren't.
See, there was a method to his madness, Chris. He wanted people lobbying the executive producer of Fox and Friends, and apparently it worked.
I don't think that was the reaction that most people who got the note. I mean, first of all, I thought to myself, man, am I going to have fun with this on Brian and the Judge next Friday?
Oh, boy. Hey, Chris, Barack Obama's trip overseas. We just got an email, by the way, from the Drudge people saying the Israelis are very concerned about security. Obviously, everybody's concerned about security. What's your take on McCain's head of communications saying it's a photo op, and John McCain saying, no, it's not. I asked him to go. I'm glad he's going.
Well, I'm glad they got their stories straight.
Right.
It's another example of the well-oiled machine that is the McCain campaign. I have mixed feelings about the whole deal. On the one hand, when I read that Brian Williams and Katie Couric and Charlie Gibson are all going on the trip, does it seem a little excessive to me? Absolutely. On the other hand, I have to admit that about 3 weeks ago, I called the Obama campaign, talked to the people there, and said, look, I would love to go on the trip if you will guarantee me an interview, a sit-down interview for Fox News Sunday with Obama. Now, my invitation is still in the mail, apparently, but, the fact is that I thought it was a news story, so I don't know that I can criticize them. It does seem excessive. I mean, but on the other hand, each individual person, I mean, if you got an email from the Obama campaign saying you can go on the trip and you can ask, you're going to get a sit-down interview with Obama and you can ask him anything you want.
Well, of course you do it.
You do it. It's news.
But the argument is that John, because I'm busy and I have a game or a practice. Hey, Chris, but the thing is, evidently John McCain on his last trip did not invite the press, so they have to pay their own way, and did not guarantee an interview. So that's tough to rationalize.
Well, I didn't know that. But the other point that's tough to rationalize in terms of the McCain campaign's complaints, and I thought it was good of him to say, look, I urged him to go on the trip. The fact is, one of the reasons this has become a big story is because of the McCains. I mean, John McCain and his campaign made a big deal about the fact, and a legitimate issue, that he hadn't gone in 2 years, and they had the clock on the Republican National Committee that it's been 800 days or whatever. They helped make it a big story. So now when the reporters end up covering it like a big story, I don't know that I think it backfired to some degree on the McCain campaign.
And as I mentioned to you on Fox and Friends, I don't understand why he announced his policy before he even pretended to form his policy by talking to General Petraeus, Talabani, al-Maliki. It didn't make any sense.
I agree with you. I think it's a mistake. And the only thing I can figure, and I don't know this, I mean, I'm speculating, is that he was under such pressure from the left wing of his own party, from the anti-war wing of the Democratic Party, because of the fact that he had talked about, which is only sensible, I might actually want to calibrate things if I become president.
Oh, Chris, the blogs went crazy that week.
And I think he felt he had to do that to calm them down beforehand. I agree. I mean, it's like the Alice in Wonderland thing of verdict today, trial tomorrow.
Right. Chris, we all know and love...
the way that Judge Napolitano used to do things at his court.
There's a wing in one of the New Jersey state prisons dedicated to me because I kept it filled for 8 years. Kidding.
Really?
He got nervous.
Sean Hannity, trying to get Barack Obama on air. God bless him. I hope he gets him on, and I can't wait to see the interview. But is Michelle Obama an appropriate route to taunt her husband into coming on?
Is that what you think Sean did?
Yes.
Well,
all right, let me ask the question another way. Is it appropriate for Barack Obama to call out Sean by calling out all of Fox News, saying these people are going after my wife? I never went after his wife.
Well, no, but then he did specifically talk about Sean. Look, first of all, do I think it's legitimate for Sean to go after Michelle Obama? Absolutely. If she's going out and actually becoming, I know Obama says she's a civilian, like we're talking about the mob here, and she's not involved. She's not.
Did you have to mention the mob?
What?
Did you have to mention
it's hit on Italians?
Oh, jeez. Well,
go ahead. No, it's a good answer. Go ahead, Chris.
But the fact is she's not a civilian. She's in the battle because she's been out there and she's made comments and she's talked about, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her doing that, but once you do that, you can't then say, well, she's off limits. I mean, if you want her to be off limits, keep her at home on the south side of Chicago with her kids. Once you get out there and you start campaigning and say controversial things, and she has, you're legitimate. So I think it's fair for Sean to not to attack her, but to comment on her. Do I think it's fair for Obama to defend his wife and object to what Sean said? Absolutely. I mean, they're both big boys, and they both can handle themselves. I must say, I agree with you that I thought Hannity did taunt Obama a little bit, and I wasn't crazy about that.
All right. And, Chris, my last thing is, when it comes to Afghanistan... I wish this were
your last thing, but go ahead.
But my last thing is Afghanistan. There's no battle plan that has us with more than 30 to 50,000 troops for any period of time, because history has taught us that is counterproductive in Afghanistan. Isn't it almost insulting to bring that up?
What do you mean? To bring what up?
Attila the Hun, the British, the Russians/Soviets. You can't have a big footprint in that country and be successful. If you want to criticize our Afghanistan effort, it's training their troops and not having finding a way to seal the border.
Well, look, General Kilmeade, I don't know the answer to that question, but all I would say is this: we cannot lose in Afghanistan. I mean, that is where the people that killed 3,000 Americans came from. Right. I don't know whether the answer is 30,000 troops or 50,000 or whatever. And and one of the things we found with General Petraeus, listen, I'd ask General Petraeus what to do, and I'd take his advice, because he sure with just the injection of 30,000 more troops, it wasn't a huge doubling of the force, turned around the situation in Iraq. So, I don't think he'd necessarily boots on the ground. I mean, some more boots is absolutely the answer, but an unlimited number is not. And I'd ask Petraeus, he's going to be the new CENTCOM commander, what do you think we should do? And whatever he said, I'd do it.
Chris Wallace, thanks for joining us.
I thought that was a great chat, Kilmeade.
Brian, if you want to send another email, we could airing your dirty laundry to half of Fox News, please be free to do so.
Chris, if I wanted to communicate with you, if you just give me your personal email, I could save myself a headache.
I thought the restraining order prevented that.
Right. And I signed that restraining order. God bless you, Chris. Have a great weekend. We'll watch you Sunday.
Bye, guys.
Informed sources get that way from listening to Brian and the Judge.